Good evening, everyone, and welcome Inside the Bubble. I'm Brandon Spratt, joined as always by Matt Harrington. And Matt, we enjoyed our section preview show for the girls this week. It was a lot of fun. The girls' regular season concludes, so we only have the boys' highlights this week. We'll get to some girls' updates later in the show. But boys' regular season coming down the stretch. This is our second to last week of the boys' highlights.
Yeah, it is our second to last week. Of course, one more week in the regular season. We've got some good matchups upcoming in that final week. We had some good ones this week as well, which we'll get into. But yeah, very exciting week, and looking forward to continuing to show some of the highlights we had.
Yeah, and I believe we're going to start out with Warroad and East Grand Forks. They played a home-and-home series this week, Monday and Tuesday night. Pretty close for the number one team in Class A, but we got the highlights from up in East Grand.
We do have the highlights up in East Grand. We will go to East Grand Forks, to the Civic Center, where it's number one Warroad putting their unbeaten record on the line, taking on the East Grand Forks Green Wave in this one. 21-0 as the Warriors trying to close in on a perfect season. Pick this up in the second period. East Grand Forks still scoreless, and a big save there by Hampton Slukinski, affectionately known as Hammer by the locals up in Warroad. Big save there to keep it 0-0. We're late in the second now, still scoreless, and Jason Shagaby doing what he does best, score goals. And that's a power play marker to give Warroad the 1-0 lead. Not long after that, still on the power play, are the Warriors. This is going to be a beautiful feed in front, and it's going to be Marvin Cords with a power play goal to make it 2-0. If we've learned anything about East Grand Forks this year, it's that we know they don't go away. As Brock Schultz, big juicy rebound there, puts it home to make it 2-1. And just a handful of seconds later, about 25-30 seconds later, Schultz going to go to the front here. Slukinski gets a piece of it, but it's poked in by Landon Jameson. And it's 2-2 with 12:45 to go in the third. Late third period now, just 2:20 remaining in regulation, and this one is going to get past the goaltender. It's Marvin Cords with another goal. He would add an empty netter, and Warroad remains unbeaten thanks to the Marvin Cords hat trick.
Champlin Park taking on Duluth East. Two teams having very strong seasons, meeting earlier this week, and we picked this one up first period. Hounds get on the board. Wyatt Peterson's shot took a big deflection there, and now the Hounds off to a flying start. Ooh, sniped there by Cole Christian, who's having a great season, definitely putting himself in the Mr. Hockey conversation for the Hounds. Late first period, though, it's a nice feed from Will Bernovic to Evan Williams. Get used to seeing number 8 scoring. He had a few in this game, and that was his first. Later in transition, it's going to be, guess who? Number 8, Evan Williams again on the breakaway. He ties it up at 2, scores either side of the break, and makes it 2-2 as the Rebels tie it up. We take you now late into the second period here. Jordan Ron with the feed. Oh, and that one just floats in. Williams completes his hat trick. You'll see, yep, there's a hat flying onto the ice, and Rebels lead it 3-2. Another hat coming in there at the end. Now Duluth East turns it over. Nice move at the front of the net. 4 straight goals for Evan Williams. Rebels thought they might be running away with this, up 4-2 at 10:40 to go, but Duluth East had some other ideas. Here, snipe by Noah Tang. Hounds get it within 1 just a minute 15 later. And then a few minutes after that, mentioned Cole Christian earlier, working on his Mr. Hockey case. As the Rebels fail to clear the puck, good feed to the slot, and Christian ties it up at 4. Entertaining one here from the Heritage Center in Duluth. 4-4 game. But guess what? They failed to clear the puck again, and it's a high 5 for Evan Williams. Champlin Park leads at 5-4 going down the stretch. All 5 goals for Evan Williams for the Rebels. Duluth East still pulls the goaltender. Nice move at the line by Grant Winkler, and that one's just going to flutter in over the Champlin Park goaltender. Tied up at 5. We would head to overtime. In the first minute of overtime here, it's going to be Cole Christian on the back door. He finishes off his hat trick. What a game at the Heritage Center. As the Hounds started a big week, they defeat Champlin Park 6-5, and we might be seeing them later in the show.
St. Thomas Academy, the 10th ranked team in the state in AA, taking on Stillwater. Picked this one up in the early stages of the first, and the Cadets get going early with Will Dosen with the goal. That's a big one to make it 1-0 in favor of St. Thomas Academy. In the second now, Stillwater trying to get the equalizer. It's going to be tipped in front by Riley Scusa, and it's a 1-1 game. See the NHL level spotlights and stuff there from Stillwater. In the second, still a handful of minutes later, and Stillwater coming flying into the zone. Tucito's going to get this shot to go through. It's 2-1 in favor of the Ponies, and they're not going to be done yet in this period either as they get this one. Another tip. They must be working on that in practice. Nice work from Bernier in front. That makes it 3-1 Ponies. We're still in the second period. Original save is made in the follow-up try right in front. Ben Peterson puts it home. 4 goals in the second period for the Ponies, and they pick up a huge win, 4-1.
Gentry Academy at Chanhassen on Thursday night, and it is going to be the Storm starting off the scoring late in the second period. Chan on the power play. They work into the slot, and Tyler Smith finishes this one off as the Storm take a 1-0 lead. But Gentry would fight right back 20 seconds later. Ryder Betzold from Reese Shaw ties this game up at 1. We take you now late third period breakaway there for Ryder Betzold, and Gentry takes a 2-1 lead despite being outshot in this game 38-13. Stars come away with a big win. They avenge a loss from earlier this season, and the Stars win 3-1.
Minnetonka Edina, number 1 versus number 2. Doesn't get much bigger than this at Braemar Arena. And the Hornets looking to try and get things started early, as it's Nevers who's going to catch iron with this shot. And a big opportunity goes to waste for the Hornets. It's still scoreless in the first period now. Look at John Stout putting on the dangles. And look at this. He tries to go Michigan with the lacrosse-style goal. It doesn't work nearly, though. Boy, everybody in Braemar Arena would have been shocked if he pulled that off. Still scoreless, though, in this one, as it is in the late first period. And now we're going to fast forward here to the third period. Hornets coming into the offensive zone. Another post, this time from Quinn Schaefer. We're still scoreless. Keep an eye. You see it's period number 3. And now, check this out. Halverson loses an edge, and back the other way it comes. And Luke Gary finishes. Beautiful feed from Aston Schultz. Puts the Skippers up 1-0, and that's how this one would finish. A low-scoring affair here in this one. But the Skippers sweep the season series against Edina, also shutting them out. 21 wins on the year.
Maple Grove looking to also sweep the season series against Andover in the state title game rematch. We picked this one up first period. Grant Leno sneaks one through from the point for the Crimson, who lead 1-0 at the Maple Grove Community Center. We send it now second period here as Andover gets it set up down low. And check out this bounce. Going to be a bit of a cruel one for Maple Grove. It just hits a skate. Oh, hits the defender's skate. And in, Caden Casey ties it for the Huskies. This is now in the late second period, and Lucas Bush rips one through the screen and puts the Crimson back on top 2-1. Now we pick things up late or early third period, and that's that Thorson, Casey, Conway line again. Wow, short-sighted snipe from Cooper Conway. Andover ties the game up at 2. We take you now late third period, though. It's going to come to Bush. Oh, the dangles out front. And Lucas Bush with his second goal of the afternoon puts the Crimson on top 3-2, and that's how this one would end. Maple Grove sweeps the season series over Andover. Matt, they don't have an easy section, but they sweep their rivals. You mentioned it, Minnetonka sweeping their rivals. Edina, I know you had a chance to be out at that game. Great crowd, low-scoring game. Tell me a little bit more about that one.
Yeah, that was a fun one to watch, and, you know, I think you realize how evenly matched the teams are. It felt like Minnetonka controlled the pace of that game for the most part, but again, a lot of the times just that one goal can be the difference. If Edina gets a couple of those bounces to go their way, who knows? Maybe we have a different story, and obviously a close one here as well with Maple Grove Andover, so it's a game of inches. We know that.
Yeah, and you said it. It was number 1 versus number 2. Minnetonka in sweeping the season series, really solidifying their, I would say, stranglehold at this point on number 1. Their only losses to Wayzata and Chan, who have since kind of suffered some other defeats. We obviously saw Chan lose here in the highlight package as well. So 1 week to go in the regular season. Skippers are looking really, really good.
They are indeed, and like you said, I think they've clearly shown they're the number 1 team right now in the state, so we'll find out if they can live up to that billing in the section playoffs.
All right, that's going to do it for our highlights this week. Coming up, we're going to have the SCSU Player Spotlight featuring a pair of twins from Roseville.
Behind every world-class athlete, there's a team who takes extra care to support them. At Affinity Plus, we take extra care with all your banking goals, from checking accounts to credit cards. Our biggest victory? Helping you win in the ways that matter most. Affinity Plus.
Your college experience begins with your dream. Your time at St. Cloud State will uniquely be your own, but your journey will be guided by our community. Be you. Be bold. Be a Husky.
What if there was a place where everything was hockey?
Oh, he can skate. Here comes Steves in on goal, all alone.
In Minnesota, there is.
Scores!
Welcome back to Inside the Bubble here on Care 11 Plus. It's time now to take a look at our St. Cloud State University player spotlight for this week, and we've got two players. It's twin brothers Luke and Landon Steffen of the Roseville Raiders boys hockey team. The Raiders are having a terrific season and are closing in on their first winning season in 8 years, are the Raiders, and they are a legitimate threat to get to the state tournament come March. They're, of course, led by their father, Scott Steffen, who is the head coach of the Raiders boys team. Let's go out to the Roseville Ice Arena and learn a little bit more about the Stefans.
So we started pretty early, taught the boys how to skate about 3-4 years old. My background being running hockey camps and being a skating and skills instructor. They started to tag along with Dad to work and things like that. And they've been around a lot of, prominent players. Even now like a Jake Gensel and stuff, still skate with him, and kind of found their way that way and helped coach a few of their teams.
Yeah, we've always been on the same team. It was not always on the same line until, when we got a little bit older, and then we started to understand how to play together, understand we had different strengths and how we could help each other. And
obviously they're very, very skilled players. A couple of the state's leading scorers, I think, 59 and 55 points. They bring some offense for us. And they've got a good supporting cast. Guys, we got some really good young guys. We've got some good senior leadership, and the chemistry just seems to mesh. And we know on any given night, we've got a few head-scratching losses, but then we've got some very dominant signature wins. So we know when we put it together on any given night, that we can be the best team out there.
Definitely. We started high school in 8th grade, hockey a little bit earlier, and then we went from JV, and then that jump to high school or varsity. The pace was a little bit higher, the tempo for sure, but I think we settled in, and then it was nice.
A little bit. Yeah, we really enjoy playing with each other. We kind of know where each other are on the ice. We kind of feel each other out a little bit, and we have that good chemistry. We've been growing up playing together, and it's fun playing together too in practice. It gets competitive. It's fun playing each other, so yeah.
For sure. I was originally at Spring Lake Park for my first high school job for 4 years, and then got the opportunity to come back home to Roseville, which has been truly special. for me, I have the best job in high school hockey. The opportunity to come back home and be back in the community and all the great people here in Roseville and so many of my friends and all the support. It's been amazing. And then of course with Luke and Landon playing here, it's certainly special. And we're competing every night and having a lot of success. So definitely a proud hockey community.
Our favorite part is scoring for sure. Getting each other goals.
Yeah, I mean
Enjoy that.
It's nice playing together. I give him the puck. I'll probably know I'm going to get it back, or he's going to make a good play, or anything. So yeah.
I think with the work they put in, the expectations, but they have. I mean, as a sophomore, I think Landon had 18 goals, right around 30 points. Both of them had junior year, couple injuries, but both right around 30 points. But maybe not scoring at this level. And especially the nights that they've had in the big games, Stillwater, Cretin, Park Cottage Grove, is where they've really stood out. So,
I mean, I think we can play with all the teams in our section, no question. I mean, playoff hockey is a different story. Like, anything can go. Like, any team can beat any team. So I think we can fit well in there.
Yeah. We just want to come in there and show them we can play. I think we sent the message to Stillwater that night. After beating them 5-1, so certainly teams know that we can keep up and we can play just fine. So
yeah, it's real because I've seen these kids play and we know what we can do. I mean, like I said, I think we kind of sent a message a little bit with Stillwater. White Bear Lake's got a very good team. They're all very well coached and they have good players, but we think we're right there. If we're competing the way we can, playing the way we can, knock on wood, we don't have any guys out. The lineup's right? Like, we could win a section title, no question. I think the big part is watching them grow as people. I mean, just like all of our players, right? Be great character kids first, hockey players second, or actually hockey players third because we go student athletes. But just good character people. Academically they do very, very well. They're 4.0 and like a 3.75 last semester, so we're very proud of them academically. And their hope is to play on and attend a school, earn a scholarship, and get a good education.
It's time now to take a look at our Care 11 Top 11 Power Rankings for the week. And this week, of course, just have the boys since the girls' postseason is underway. And we'll start here in Class A as the Warroad Warriors. No surprise to see they are number one, 24-0, one win away from closing out a perfect regular season. They'll face Hartel St. Stephen this week. Hermantown at number 2. And we have a change for the first time in a while in 3 and 4. Matamidi takes over for Orono. East Grand Forks, they do have 10 losses, but played Warroad very close a couple times this week. Northfield continues to win. They're up to 6. And then Little Falls is your newcomer this week, Brandon.
Yeah, Little Falls, the Flyers got off to a little bit of a slow start this season, but they've been very good lately, winning 10 of 11 games to end the regular season, including a win over Detroit Lakes, including a win over St. Cloud Cathedral in their section, so they're looking at a likely number 1 seed in their section. I also want to shout out Northfield as well. They've been putting the clamps on people defensively, playing some very good hockey, a lot of shutouts in there as well. And then we talked about this one a little bit off air, but Matamidi flips with Orono has a lot to do with the loss that Orono suffered to Chan on Saturday. Chan, they came out hot, and I think a little bit upset after the loss to Gentry, and they beat Orono 9-2. But really, 3 and 4 I think has been close all season. And I know Matamidi and East Grand Forks with a lot of losses, but they've played, schedules probably equivalent to a Hermantown or a Warroad. So they pile up some of the losses, but they'll be battle-tested come playoffs.
They sure will be, and we'll move on to Class AA now. On your screen, as you see, the Minnetonka Skippers are number 1 still after their win over number 2 Edina, who does not fall despite the loss, kept it close, and as a result, the committee keeping them at number 2. Maple Grove is up to number 3 after their win over Andover. Chanhassen, they had a massive win over Orono, 9-2 the final in that one. And then Wayzata up to 5. Andover stays the same throughout all the chaos. Rogers goes down to number 7. Lakeville South just humming along right now. 16-5-1. Haven't lost in quite some time. Benilde St. Margaret's falls to 9. Holy Family, winners of I believe 9 games in a row, are the Fire. And another team that's red hot, the Duluth East Greyhounds. We have not seen them in the Carroll 11 top 11 in probably a couple years, and it's good to see the Hounds back in.
It is. The Hounds are playing great hockey. Obviously, we saw them back in our highlight package. They also beat Rogers, who, of course, was previously in the top 5 last week. They beat them on Saturday in a tight game, so the Hounds up to 11. Rogers falls to 7 as a result. It is great to see the Hounds in there, and honestly, they have an identical record with Andover, and they have a head-to-head win. It's going to be very possible Duluth East gets seeded ahead of Andover in that Section 7 AA, which is always entertaining. Benilde continues its up-and-down season. We didn't mention back in the single A rankings, but Hermantown actually beat them pretty handily on Friday night as the Red Knights made the trip up north. But other than that, not a ton of changes. Minnetonka, with only the 2 losses, really continues to assert its dominance on the field. Chan is still a little bit of a mystery. They've bumped into some tougher competition at times and have lost those games, but the record still speaks for itself, and we're going to find out come section seeding time whether the coaches value that win over Minnetonka above maybe overall resume.
And Chanhassen plays Benilde St. Margaret's this week too. That was one of their losses earlier in the season, so they'll try and avenge that loss this week. Now let's take a look at our top 5 upcoming network games, and of course only the boys this week because the girls' playoffs are underway. And, well, I gave you a little bit of a preview already for this Valentine's Day affair between Benilde St. Margaret's and Chanhassen. That'll be a fun one as the Storm look to avenge that loss to Benilde from earlier. Also on Tuesday night, Delano and Matamidi. Interesting Tigers team out of Delano. They do have quite a bit of losses, but they've had some good wins in there as well. They've been a regular in Section 2A the last handful of years. Roseau, East Grand Forks. Always fun when they meet Edina, Wayzata as well on Saturday. And Moorhead and Hill Murray to close out the regular season on Saturday.
Yeah, I look at Roseau, East Grand. That's a really interesting matchup. I think the Rams have a good shot to get to St. Paul this year, and obviously we saw East Grand giving their all to Warrow twice in a potential section championship preview. Edina Wayzata duel for probably the number 1 seed in Section 6. They've split their 2 previous meetings so far this season. And then Moorhead and Hill Murray, those 2 teams always play a tough regular season schedule. They've taken some bumps this year with that schedule. They'll finish their regular seasons on Saturday, and certainly they'll both be threats to get to St. Paul once again.
They say good things come to those who wait. But greatness, that's a different beast. It doesn't come when it's called. It won't wander up to those who do nothing. You have to bait it with the sweat you leave on the ice. You gotta push through the pain, smile through every ache, and suffer every shift. You gotta chase it, all in the name of the game you love. Because greatness comes to those who take it.
Behind every world-class athlete, there's a team who takes extra care to support them. At Affinity Plus, We take extra care with all your banking goals, from checking accounts to credit cards. Our biggest victory? Helping you win in the ways that matter most. Affinity Plus.
And as we begin the last week of the boys' regular season, we have 2 more Hockey Night in Minnesota games for you. We'll start on Tuesday night. It's a big one up on the Iron Range. Hibbing Chisholm taking on Rock Ridge. Both of these teams in the top 11. That's going to be Tuesday night, 7 p.m.
Yeah, looking forward to this one, Brandon. Of course, both these teams are in Section 7 Single A, and of course, it'll be the last year for Rockridge. As some of you may have heard, Rockridge is moving up to 7 AA next season, along with the Duluth-Denfeld Hunters. Will be interesting to see how they fit in the mix there. But again, these two teams, they know each other well. They played to a 1-0 win for Hibbing Chisholm earlier this year. This time at Rockridge, I have a feeling this is going to be a very fun game.
And then our final Hockey Night in Minnesota game for this season. It's Thursday night. It's a familiar Lake Conference battle. Eden Prairie makes the trip up to the Pagel Activity Center to take on the number 1 Skippers. That's 7 p.m. on Thursday night, the 16th.
Yeah, and Eden Prairie, of course, maybe the record says, they haven't been having a great season, but they've been playing better lately, starting to find their identity maybe a little bit. And, of course, they played Minnetonka close the first time. It was a 3-2 win for the Skippers, I believe, about a month ago or so. So it's going to be a fun one out at Pagel, and looking forward to it.
Always competitive, of course, in those Lake Conference games. Coming up, we have a special look at the girls section brackets. Let's see how the action has unfolded here in the first week of playoffs.
There are 9 sections that already have their section final already set. So we'll take a look at those. We'll go in numerical order, starting with Class A. And in girls Class 1A, it has been all chalk so far, as the Dodge County Wildcats, of course, got the bye. They blew past Winona, and then also Albert Lee taking a stranglehold on Waseca. Both those teams combined won 19-1 in their semifinal games, Brandon. So, we kind of knew going in that Dodge County and Albert Lee were kind of 1A and 1B, and it's lived up to that so far.
It has, and this section final will be on Thursday night, 7:30 in Owatonna. Just to remind folks of who we picked in our section preview show, or maybe you didn't tune into that one, you could check it out on demand and on YouTube too. But Matt, you picked Albert Lee. Pete and I picked Dodge County. So both our teams still alive in this one. We'll see who comes out on top on Thursday.
We'll see indeed. We'll move now to our next section, which will be Section 2A. And Mankato East had a bye, of course, into the semifinal round, and they did beat Waconia. Credit to the Waconia Wildcats, though. They put up a good fight. I believe that one was only 1-0 about midway through. And, of course, Waconia only had 4 wins in the regular season, so they had a section playoff, I think, to be proud of. And then Litchfield-Dask-Cokato had a bye. They lose to Hutchinson by a score of 5-3, so the Tigers go on. They continue their dominance, if you will, of the Dragons in the section playoffs. And we've got the 1 and 3, the battle of yellow here with Mankato East and Hutchinson. And all of us picked Mankato East, Brandon, but, don't count out the Tigers.
Definitely not. Hutchinson, like you said, they've been dominant over Litchfield in this rivalry. The Dragons got them twice in the regular season, but Hutch got them here in the playoffs. Maybe a little bit of relief for Mankato East, hard to say. They lost to Litchfield-Dask-Cokato in the regular season, but they'll get Hutch in the section final Thursday night at Gustavus.
Looking forward to that one, and we will move now to our next section final that has already been set, and that is Section 3A on the girls' side. Laverne and New Ulm had byes into the quarterfinals. Laverne won pretty handily over Windham, but boy, New Ulm had to fight against the Marshall Tigers. That game was scoreless in triple overtime, and the New Ulm Eagles prevail. Great season, though, for Marshall to be proud of, but New Ulm, in the end, we're going to get that 1-2 matchup, Brandon, that we kind of expected.
Yep, and this one also at Gustavus. It'll be on Tuesday night instead. We all picked Laverne to win this section, but it sets up that matchup with Ava Brennan, the New Ulm goaltender, against the high-flying Laverne Cardinals, led by Cameron Van Batavia. Should be a good one on Tuesday night.
Looking forward to that one as we move on to our next section, which is, of course, 7A. Proctor Hermantown defeated Cloquet Esco Carlton in the semifinals, and Duluth Marshall took care of business over Moose Lake. So we get that 1-2 matchup. You and Pete picked Proctor Hermantown, the traditional favorite that has won 4 of the past 5 years. I went with Duluth Marshall, and one of those teams is going to win.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup. This one goes off in Cloquet on Wednesday night, and we mentioned this in our preview as well. They played a close meeting in the regular season contest between these two. I think Proctor Hermantown plays a little bit more of a controlled game. They don't put up as big of scores, if you will, whereas Duluth Marshall, a little more free scoring. It's a very interesting matchup. This could definitely be one of the better section finals.
Looking forward to that one for sure, as we'll move on to Section 8 Single A. And as we expected, Warroad and Crookston get to the Section 8A championship. They both won pretty handily in their games as well, Brandon. And Warroad, they have played Crookston in the regular season. They dominated them, really, is the best way to put it. And that game is at Warroad. Seems like the Warriors are going to be heavy favorites heading into that game.
Yeah, one of the few section finals that is a high seed host, if you will. And the semifinals were also both at the Warroad Gardens Arena. So a lot of travel for Crookston to make their way up to Warroad. They'll see if they can pull off a shocker. Warroad has been really heavy favorites across the entire single A field all season.
And now we'll move to Double A.
All right, and in Double A, we have the 1AA final is set, and one upset here, if you can even call it that. Northfield, the defending section winners, trip up Lakeville South for the second straight year. Last year it was in the section final. This year it's in the semis. They win at Hasse Arena Saturday night. They tripped up Farmington. They'll have to defeat a third South Suburban team to try to get to the state tournament, as Lakeville North took out Owatonna, which was, unfortunately, Matt, your section pick.
It was my pick, and you know what? I'll give them credit. They put up a good fight, a 2-1 loss to Lakeville North. So Huskies still had a great season, a lot to be proud of. But yeah, Northfield, we know how it is, come this time of year where experience plays such a big factor. And Northfield, of course, defending section champions, they get back to the section final. And they will take on your pick, Lakeville North. So you've got the only team left of our picks.
I'm the only one alive. Pete picked Lakeville South, but of course Northfield could just throw everything into a little bit of chaos because none of us picked the Raiders. We all doubted them as the 4 seed. Maybe we shouldn't have as the defending section winners. On to the next one here, and it's going to be 3AA, and this was the biggest upset so far of the playoffs, probably on either side. Your Cretin-Durham Hall Raiders, a proud alumni, is Matt Harrington. They defeat the number 1 seed, Apple Valley, to get to the section final. You see Eastview there defeated Metro South. That was an upset by seeding, really by record. They split in the regular season and were very close. But Rosemont gets to another section final after falling at this stage last year. They'll face Cretin, who is 10-17 heading into this section final.
Yeah, the record certainly doesn't stand out for the Raiders, but huge upset win over Apple Valley. That was a game they trailed 2-0 and ended up winning 3-2. So great work by the Raiders to come back in that one, and they will play for a trip to the state tournament against Rosemont, who 2-1 win over Eastview in the semifinals. So that game was also very close. Interested to see, of course, Rosemont going to be the favorite in that one, but the Raiders certainly have got a chance to get to the XL Energy Center.
Yeah, dramatic wins in both semifinals. Cretin in overtime, Rosemont with about 90 seconds left gets the game winner. We move now to Section 7AA, where the final is set. Speaking of drama, plenty of drama in this section. Not with Andover, as they have got to the section final. Elk River pulls the mild upset, if you will, over Duluth in the 4-5. We've had some good 4-5 games so far. Blaine over Anoka. You wouldn't think much about that one until you know it went to 6 overtimes, Matt. More on that in a moment as the Bengals got to the semis, but they had to turn around and play only about 36 to 40 hours later. Even on home ice, could not prevail against Grand Rapids Greenway. So it is section final up in Proctor. A little bit of a closer drive for the Lightning, the 3 seed. They'll take on Andover in this section final.
Yeah, looking forward to that section final. Of course, you got Mercury Bischoff on the Grand Rapids Greenway side. Only a sophomore. If she's an upperclassman, I feel like maybe that would give a slightly more of an edge toward the Lightning, but I still think Andover should be able to take care of business And of course, if I'm wrong, Grand Rapids Greenway, you can come back to this, but you never know. But yeah, 6 overtimes. Anoka goaltender Gretchen Pavarud had 89 saves in that game. Simply incredible, and a lot to be proud of on the Anoka Tornado side, who put up an incredible fight. And I know me and you were texting like, is this game still going on? I mean, what's the deal? But yeah, 6 overtimes, and it was only, I think, about 3 minutes away from becoming the longest girls hockey game in Minnesota State High School League history. So what a game. And it was a fun one to kind of track along throughout the night.
It was. And a great career for Blaine goaltender Haley Hansen ends as well. She had 49 saves in that 6 overtime win, but unfortunately they fall to the Lightning. And one more section final that has been set. It is the top 2 seeds, Moorhead and Roseville. That will be played at a neutral site. I believe it's going to be Thief River Falls is what they've determined. Moorhead gets to the championship. If you look at this bracket, you might not think much of it, but it was a little more complicated than that for the Spuds.
Yeah, they just snuck by Brainerd Little Falls. They actually trailed 1-0 after the second period in that one, so they came back and won that game. But credit to them. Again, that's a pesky Brainerd Little Falls team that has won this section quite a bit over the last 5 years. And Alexandria put up a good fight, losing 3-1 to Roseville. So in the end, we get the top 2 seeds, but it certainly hasn't been without a little drama to get us to this point, if you will.
Yeah, and a little bit of housekeeping as well. If we go back to Section 3, we all picked Apple Valley, so that's done. Section 7, we all picked Andover still alive, and then here in Section 8, it was all Moorhead Spuds. I think that's going to be a good game, though. I've mentioned to you a few times, Roseville has a good group of young players. Maybe they're a year away, but maybe they're ready to make a trip back to the X.
Don't forget to check out the Overtime podcast here on the MN Hockey TV network as we cover all things Minnesota high school hockey and professional hockey. Along with Minnesota sports, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and 11 other podcast hosting networks. And also make sure to follow the MN Hockey TV social media channels on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and YouTube as well, although it's not up there, at MN Hockey TV. Well, that's going to wrap it up here for episode number 14 of Inside the Bubble. Next week, we're going to have a couple of new shows to throw in. We're going to have the girls state tournament preview episode, as well as the boys section preview episode, Brandon. It's going to be a lot of prep work, if you will, but looking forward to bringing our viewers another great experience.
Yeah, we're on the home stretch here of the boys season. Last week of the regular season. By this time next week, we'll have all the section brackets out, and we'll be dissecting them and ready to make our picks. Reminder for you as well as we're now into the week with girls section finals. Here on MNHockey.tv, we have the 2 single-A final, the 2 double-A final, and the 6 double-A final this week. So should be some good games for the viewers there as well.
Looking forward to that. Well, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Inside the Bubble. For our entire crew, Pete Wagner, Glenn Gray, and Brandon Spratt, I'm Matt Harrington saying so long from the Meta Sports League studios.